President Trump showing off the new Air Force One at Joint Base Andrews. Isn't that beautiful? That was just before heading to Camp David, delivering remarks where he touted the economic benefits of his peace deal with Iran.
Our country's doing so well. Those ships are flowing out of the Hormuz Strait like nobody's ever seen before, actually. There were a lot of them, about 700 of them, and they're pouring out. The oil is all over the place. You're going to see oil drop so low. And now we have an agreement that was signed last night, and it's 60 days. They have to make a deal. Otherwise, we will do things that won't make them happy. But I don't think it's going to get to that. I think it's going to be very good.
That comes as Vice President J.D. Vance puts his Switzerland trip on hold with the fragile peace deal being confronted by new violence in the Middle East. Hezbollah attacking Israeli soldiers in Lebanon, killing 4 and triggering a new round of fighting before Israel and the Iran-backed terror group agreed to another ceasefire. According to NBC News, President Trump spoke with Israeli officials earlier today and urged them to accept the truce. And he had more to say during an interview with Axios.
If it weren't for Donald Trump, Israel would have been eviscerated.
Are you going to be able to control Israel from attacking Lebanon?
Yeah, I will be. I mean, I wonder. They have a lot of respect for me, and they do as I say.
So, Jillian, he spoke with Israeli officials this morning, and the ceasefire came about fairly quickly thereafter.
And, you know, today, since then, the foreign press has been all over this story as a boon to Israel's enemies in the region. The foreign reporting today has all been about how none of Israel's needs and wants are being met. With Fury began, the president is having to really sort of navigate his priorities. Right now, he can't really push the military angle and the economic angle at once. If he moves forward, wanting to have the strait remain open, he's not going to be able to strike up military attacks as quickly as he might like to, because it will shut the strait down again. He's having to tread very, very carefully and very precisely at this moment, I think, in a way maybe he has not been forced to do so far in this conflict. Meaning, if he wants to dial up military intervention because he feels like the regime is reneging on things they agreed to, the strait's going to shut down again. And oil prices are going to go back up. Americans are going to feel it at the pump. And obviously, that's not something he wants. So it's a real balancing act.
And the strait is indeed a card that Iran holds over the next 60 days, Jessica. But a card that President Trump holds is this headline from The Economist. Iran's battered economy will take years to recover from the war. Last month's inflation rate in Iran was 84%. They desperately need the $300 billion in cash that they seek, which would not be U.S. cash, I would just note.
No, that part wouldn't be U.S. cash, but the $5 billion that they would be getting on a monthly basis immediately, because they can sell oil on the open market, which they haven't been able to do in over a decade, comes right away. And
but
so
that's not U.S. taxpayer dollars, just being very clear
but it's letting a regime run by a bunch of terrorists who still haven't signed on to a nuclear agreement to stop their enrichment level. What is that, 60% now, to sell their oil on an open market, which is a huge concession that we gave to them in this. The $300 billion, yes, not out of our pockets, but out of our friends' pockets. And to them, a dollar's a dollar, right? And they're going to be able to go out and they're going to spend that money. They like this deal a lot. They're basically the only people, et cetera, everything ranging from like complete disaster to I'm very concerned. That's a Susan Collins special. But the last few days have not been great for the president. And, you know, the MOU itself, having told us that we didn't have the actual MOU when it turned out to be exactly what we had been seeing leaked from every other press, you know, across the globe, and from our own outlets in Bloomberg and in Wall Street Journal. Iran shutting down the strait right away. And did you see that the Strait Authority is already accepting applications for passage in 60 days? That's when they are supposed to, you know, reevaluate, but they're going to start tolling again. And you can say, oh, well, the Saudis aren't going to stand for that or whatever, but Iran is basically doing what they want. Today, I'm sure you saw the Prime Minister of Italy, Giorgia Meloni, did like a direct-to-camera video refuting this absurd lie that the president told about her, that she begged him for a picture at the G7. Like, he's just picking fights.
That doesn't pertain to Iran.
No, well, he talked about Iran all through the G7 meeting. And by the way, France, who was there as well, has said that they're not going to sign on to the UN resolution to lift the sanctions on Iran right away. So that has to do with it. I'm saying he's picking a fight that he doesn't need to pick because he's in a bad position with this. And I don't know if he felt excluded, like he didn't get the picture that he wanted or whatever, but he is not behaving like somebody who is actually in control of this.
Well, I saw the G7 much differently. I saw someone very much in command, that being President Donald Trump. Brian, this was a memorandum of understanding. It is not a deal. We will see what the details are, hopefully in 60 days if a deal is reached. But President Trump is negotiating from a posture with a Iran that has a diminished economy, and Iran that has its nuclear stockpile underneath rubble because of the Fordo bombing. And he's negotiating with an Iran that knows that the U.S. military is still there.
And the top leadership's out.
Right. And Kayleigh, what I think people aren't seeing, damage done. When it comes to this deal in particular, the goal is get me to November. There's no doubt about it. Get me to November. The president wants to get to November, then all bets are off. What he wants to do is keep the world economy somewhat stable. Ours is ready to explode in a very good way as oil drops, and you watch what else is happening between the job numbers and everything. The economy is going to be going in the right direction rapidly. Affordability is going to be no longer a talking point for the left. A couple of things on the right. Josh Hawley was on with me. I hosted Laura. He was all for the memorandum of understanding. Lindsey Graham this morning says, let's wait and see. This is J.D. Vance's deal. Let's see how this plays out. Ted Cruz was extremely critical. No doubt about it. And there's reason to be. A couple of things. If you look at Israel, I think J.D. Vance has to rethink his attack on Israel. The only reason Israel attacks anyone is because they were attacked. 4 IDF soldiers died. That's why they hit it. Hezbollah hits Israel because Iran tells them to. Israel isn't blowing up any deal. They're defending themselves. The minute they stop defending themselves, then their ability to exist diminishes. President was wrong. President is the best friend Israel ever had. That is 100% true. But Israel will survive. They're not going to die from a nuclear weapon. They'll knock it out of the sky through a preemptive attack. And then finally, the big difference between any deal that JCPOA with Joe Biden, anybody else, from Ronald Reagan on down, this president is the only one to take military action. If they start reassembling, if they start putting together the Pickaxe facility or the Fordo facility, it's going to get blown up the next day. So they're going to be all over it. The thing that's not going to stand, you cannot allow tolling in international waters. That cannot stand 1 day, 24 hours. That's where everything blows up.
Brian, that is on the president's side, was Julian noting the Ayatollah is gone. I mean, this is a different dynamic. He was killed on February 28th, the very day of the first strikes.
That's it. And everybody on cable TV is arguing about, oh, is this good for the president? Is this not good for the president? Take what I like to call the snap your fingers test. Go back to February. Go to the Iranian leadership. Snap your fingers, and then we're going to go to where we are right now. Describe the situation. Describe the agreement. Describe the attacks that they withstood. Describe that they're all dead. Would they take the deal? No. Snap your fingers. They wouldn't take the deal. Ask our leadership. Would you go back to February with the Ayatollahs in their leadership position, which them in the position of them threatening Iran? Ask Israelis, would you go back to February? No. The answer is no. So that is the reality. And when Jessica, we have these arguments every day about, oh, is this a hit to Trump? And we got the elections in the fall. And if you look at international television, they talk about this in terms of American power and the way the world has changed since February. They don't talk about Donald Trump. I mean, it's hard to avoid talking about Donald Trump, whether this is his victory or not, whatever. But if you look, pick up a newspaper, an Asian newspaper, European newspaper, Middle Eastern newspaper, they describe this. They describe the facts on the...
As of June 20th, 2026, here are some of the latest developments being covered by Fox News and its affiliated outlets. World Cup 2026, the U.S. men's national team, USMNT, secured a spot in the knockout round after a 2-0 victory against Australia in Seattle. Trump administration, President Trump recently unveiled a new Air Force One aircraft and announced a new framework for a deal involving Iran. Foreign policy, ongoing coverage of US-Iran peace talks and ceasefire agreements between Israel and Hezbollah. Technology and economy, reports on rising chip costs impacting Apple's pricing, a drop in US gas prices to below $4, and discussions regarding AI implementation in government and corporate sectors. National news, various updates on public safety, including local incident investigations and product recalls. Network overview, programming. The network offers 24/7 news coverage, talk shows, and political analysis. Popular programs include Special Report, America's Newsroom, and Fox and Friends. Platform access. You can access their content via the Fox News website, the Fox News mobile app available on Google Play and the App Store, and various cable satellite providers. Business division, Fox Business operates as a sister network focusing on financial news, market updates, and economic policy analysis. Context and reception. Fox News has long been identified with a conservative editorial perspective. Throughout its history, it has faced both significant commercial success as a leader in cable news ratings and various controversies regarding its journalistic standards, political alignment, and coverage of election-related claims. Would you like to know more about a